Welcome to This Explainer. I'm so glad you're here, because we're about to take literally everything you thought you knew about metabolism, dieting, and weight loss, and just completely flip it upside down. Seriously, today we're diving deep into some incredibly fascinating insights, straight from a recent interview with Dr. Berg. We're talking about a massive metabolic paradigm shift, moving totally away from conventional wisdom and looking at a completely different biological mechanism for fat loss. Let's just jump right in with a question you probably asked yourself a million times.
Okay, so why does counting calories and eating small, frequent meals so often lead to weight gain? For decades, right, the standard advice has been hammered into our brains: eat 6 or 7 small meals a day and count every single calorie. And if you're someone who's meticulously tracked every last almond and still hit a frustrating wall, well, you are definitely not alone. Dr. Berg's insights actually argue that this traditional method doesn't just fail, it actively tells your body to store more weight. But, why would eating less more often cause us to gain weight?
To really wrap our heads around this, imagine eating 2,000 calories all at once for dinner. Now, compare that to taking those exact same 2,000 calories and spreading them out across 7 small meals and snacks throughout the whole day. Mathematically, sure, it's the exact same amount of energy. But biologically, completely different story. The source explains that every single time you eat, literally regardless of the calorie count, you trigger a spike of a specific hormone. So when you eat 7 times a day, you're creating these constant rolling hormonal spikes that effectively lock your body's fat stores away. They become totally inaccessible for energy.
Now, you might be wondering, what if I just severely cut my calories down? You know, we hear people complain all the time that years of dieting have given them a slow metabolism. Well, Dr. Berg uses this amazing analogy. Your metabolism isn't actually broken or slow, it's just become a highly efficient motor. See, the human body is the ultimate survival machine. When you put it through years of low-calorie, starvation-style dieting, it adapts. It literally learns to run your daily functions on significantly less fuel, downregulating everything from your skin health to your core energy levels just to keep you alive.
So here's the absolute crucial point. If calories aren't the main lever we should be pulling, what is? The answer is insulin. Yeah, insulin. We know it regulates blood sugar, but its other massive job is telling your body to store energy. Whenever your insulin levels are high, your body physically cannot tap into its own fat reserves for fuel. The source material frames insulin as the true biological culprit behind stubborn weight gain. Basically, keeping it low has to be your absolute #1 priority if you actually want to mobilize and burn fat.
Now, we gotta realize that not all fat is created equal. It's actually categorized into 4 main types. First up, we've got visceral and liver fat, and these are the really dangerous ones. Visceral fat is inflammatory. It actually wraps around your internal organs. There's this blunt but super simple test for it mentioned in the source. If you look down at your shoes and your belly sticks out, that's a clear sign of dangerous visceral fat. Then there's subcutaneous fat, which is that pinchable, relatively harmless fat just under the skin. And finally, brown fat. This one is actually highly beneficial and packed with mitochondria. We are definitely going to come back to that awesome brown fat in a minute.
So, with all that in mind, how in the world do we fix this hormonal imbalance? Well, Dr. Berg has some pretty blunt advice here. Quote, "Whatever they are telling you, do the exact opposite." The insights we're looking at today strongly advocate for pretty much entirely reversing standard dietary guidelines. So instead of going low-fat and high-complex carb, this strategy relies on fundamentally changing what and when we eat to strictly control that insulin.
And it is honestly wild to look at some of these hidden dietary villains. Things like low-fat yogurt, instant oatmeal, agave nectar, fruit juices. We've been marketed to for years to believe these are heart-healthy staples. But the source points out a huge catch. When you take the fat out of something like yogurt, manufacturers have to pump it full of sugars and starches just to make it taste decent. And those hidden sugars, along with highly processed seed oils like canola and soy, they cause massive, secret insulin spikes and cellular inflammation behind the scenes.
Which brings us to a truly staggering number: 275 pounds. No, that is not a body weight. That is the actual amount of hidden, highly unstable industrial starch the average person unknowingly consumes every single year. That's like eating a whole large refrigerator's worth of starch. These industrial starches, think modified cornstarch or maltodextrin, are used as super cheap fillers in so many packaged foods. The crazy thing is they aren't even always sweet, so you can overconsume them so easily. And get this, they can actually spike your blood sugar and insulin even higher than regular table sugar.
Okay, so how do we get the body to switch tracks? It all comes down to ketones. When you drastically drop your carb intake and get those insulin levels down to 0, your body kind of goes into a mild panic and has to find an alternative fuel source. So it starts breaking down its own stored fat into these neat little, easily digestible energy packages called ketones. This is the biological state of ketosis. The big takeaway here is that to lose actual fat and avoid just wasting away your hard-earned muscle, your body absolutely must be converting fat into these ketones.
Right, so how does this actually look on your dinner plate? Well, here is Dr. Berg's unconventional antidote for fat loss. Instead of, lean turkey and plain rice, the source advocates for rich, high-fat, nutrient-dense foods. We're talking grass-fed red meat, whole eggs, sometimes like 4 per meal, animal fats, butter, high-quality sea salt, and organic dark roast coffee. Sounds crazy, right? But the reasoning is that consuming rich animal proteins and fats does not spike your insulin. Instead, it triggers a totally different hormone called glucagon, which does the exact opposite. It actually aids in mobilizing fat while keeping you completely full.
But wait, it is not just what you eat, it's when you eat. If you change literally nothing else, the source suggests trying this incredibly simple intermittent fasting progression. Step 1, just skip breakfast. Step 2, ride out the wave and eat only when your body is genuinely hungry, not just because the clock says it's time. And step 3, stop all snacking between meals. That's it. By just shrinking your eating window, you're giving your body hours and hours of zero insulin spikes. It's a straightforward lifestyle change that resensitizes your insulin receptors and pretty much wipes out those afternoon sugar cravings.
Now, hey, remember when we talked about those different types of fat earlier? Let's circle back to brown fat. This is the one type of fat we actually want more of. Why? Because it's absolutely packed with mitochondria. Those are the tiny energy factories inside your cells. So instead of storing energy, brown fat acts like a literal internal furnace. It inefficiently wastes energy by converting your fat directly into heat, just to keep your body warm. So the obvious question is, how do we crank up this internal furnace?
Well, the answer is pretty chilling, literally. Yeah, unfortunately, it involves freezing yourself on purpose. Plunging in a cold water, even just 50 degrees Fahrenheit for a couple of minutes a week, sends your body into this mild survival mode. See, your core temperature absolutely has to stay at 98.6 degrees, so the cold forces your body to shift over to that brown fat. It literally has to burn right through your regular fat stores just to generate enough wasted heat to keep you warm in that ice water. Pretty wild, right?
Finally, let's try this whole shebang together with what we can call lifestyle multipliers. Diet and fasting? Absolutely, the foundation. But to truly optimize your hormones, you have to look at the big picture. If you aren't managing your stress in your sleep, you can literally undo all that hard work you're doing in the kitchen. Obsessing over your weight actually triggers cortisol, which is a stress hormone that spikes blood sugar. So, managing stress, avoiding overtraining, taking long, slow hikes, putting a little sea salt in your water for electrolytes, all super important. But honestly, perhaps the most crucial multiplier is prioritizing your sleep. Why? Because biologically speaking, the vast majority of your fat is actually burned at night while you are fast asleep.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground today, completely flipping the traditional diet script on its head. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If meticulously counting calories and eating 6 tiny meals a day is exactly what got you stuck in a plateau in the first place, what could happen if you completely changed the paradigm? What if you stopped fighting your body's natural energy balance and just focused entirely on controlling your hormones instead? It's a seriously fascinating perspective to think about as you navigate your own health journey. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with us, and as always, keep asking the right questions.